how I found out about kidney disease. It was through my blood work and through diabetes that they mentioned it, I want to say 2 weeks before my heart attack. Because you got to remember, this was my fifth heart attack or fourth heart attack. They sent me to see a doctor, and then he's the one who said that my kidneys were at something like 17 or 18%. And then a couple of weeks later, they were down to 8 or 12%. He said, we're going to put a line in. But I didn't know what it was. He didn't explain it. He said, that's when, if you start dialysis. And I kind of suspected how dialysis works, but I didn't really know the mental part. I just thought, well, you go in there, clean your blood, and you're done. But I didn't know it was a mental struggle. And that's where it was tough for me. My dad lost his life to diabetes. My mom died to heart failure, but brought on by diabetes. You know, all my aunties on my mom's side died of heart failure because of diabetes or not treating it. And my cousins who are same age as I am, there's 4 others that are on dialysis. You know, when they ask me how I'm doing, I told them I'm struggling. I don't like it. It's hard to accept. I grew up at residential school, and there was sexual abuse. And then there's a time in your life where you don't forget about it, you don't think about it, you don't talk about it, you don't even want to acknowledge it, but that fear is there. And then over time, you eventually move forward with your mindset. Meaning that I took it, bottled it up, and drank it down, right? And over time, it got progressively worse, so I ended up getting impaired. I lost my license, and then enough was enough. I went for treatment and started my road to recovery, and it's been rough as well. You know, you have good years, bad years, and then we went to, and then I eventually sobered up. Went to addictions training, counseling, and then I started that line of work. But it wasn't because I thought I could fix everybody. It was because I understood how they felt and how hopeless they felt. Like I just understood I could connect on that level. And then I started my job at Tribal Council as a residential school support worker. And I met thousands of people that I could connect with, like trauma bonding. Similar to that, right? But I wouldn't engage in the trauma bonding part. All my life I was told what to do, like right from residential school. And then nobody asked me what I wanted to do. And how I felt about it. I kind of got angry, I guess, when I had my heart attack and they told me my kidneys aren't working. And this is what we're going to do. You're going on dialysis. And like, there was no asking, and nobody offered any help. Nobody offered any uh, for my mental part, because there's questions I wanted to know. Why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? You know, besides the hopelessness and the anxiety, I guess, and told me, you're going to get this, it's going to happen, and then we'll let you go home. There was no offer to explain anything. They just normalized everything, which was abnormal to me. Well, that's what they said about my emotional pain, I told the nurse. And my mental pain, they told me it would go away, but yet I'm still dealing with it today. I go for dialysis. It's a 12-hour day for me, like when I leave here to when I return home. I feel frustrated that I have to go drive that much, 2.5 hours. It took away my freedom. That's 36 hours a week when I was doing 3 days a week. Just sitting, laying, and coming home. There's 3 of us dialysis patients from here, and we ride together. And the driver, we called it a men's group because we talk about stuff, eh? We talk, and that's who guided me and normalized some of the things that I was feeling. And then I was thinking, this is a drastic change in our lifestyle, in our lives, in even our diet and our washroom habits. What could I change today? Right? Because when you use words like could, should, and would have, it only brings out blame, regret, and remorse. Those are the words that lead to those feelings, right? But I always tell people, what could I change today? What would make me feel happy? And when I was in better shape, like meaning I could walk, and I'd take my camera and I'd walk in the field or drive off or go hunting. But even those well, what's so hard about getting in a car? People ask me that. I'm saying, well, I have to walk down the stairs. I have to carry my 75-pound camera bag, and I can barely walk. And then the fear of getting stuck or not knowing where I'm going to end up, because that's how I was. I just drive until I had enough, and then I'd come home. It's all of that just went away. was telling Marlene what I see at the hospital. The black feet, the black fingers, And that's scary because I'm saying with dialysis, they don't really have that immune system to fight off anything. And I'm saying I'm walking down that road. I don't want to live in a bubble. Like, you know what I mean? Living is living, right? We gotta be able to do what makes us happy. And then I was saying I lived in fear half my life. And it's not a pleasant place to live. And it's not, or even to think about. Everything works together, right? You can't do one quadrant of the wellness stuff without affecting it, right? And I always tell people my wellness wheel has a low tire, right? And I said, I'm okay right now with it. I'll live with it. But I don't want to, I told my, it gets annoying. It brings me down. I can't plan my week like I used to. I have to plan a day between, right? And that's when I was 3 times a week. So, and even that, I couldn't live in the moment. That's the thing I struggle with. I cannot live in the moment anymore. I forced myself to get used to dialysis 3 times a week. Even though I didn't like it and I didn't like anything associated with it. No, I'm just dealing with dialysis. That's what I tell people. I'm just dealing with dialysis. But it's bigger, deeper. As I was saying earlier, I look normal, but I'm just shattered inside, right? Mixed up, confused, uncertain, and in fear. Because those things, like if I get a sore or I cut myself or I scrape myself, I could be any one of the other patients. I seriously thought about it. I talked to my wife. I talked to my family about it. Stopping dialysis. Of course, they weren't fearing. They're saying, you know what, we need you here, right? And then, but they also understood. I told them, do you know what I go through, right? Mentally, emotionally, physically. Like I was telling them, I struggle just to walk around the house. And then I struggle with the food that I'm supposed to eat healthy with, right? And I struggle. And I see people in my home being offered Pepsi, and I can't have it. And little changes are drastic for me. My lifestyle. I was, carefree, left when I left, go whenever I felt like going, come back. And then, being a diabetic, you do watch what you eat. I was starting to get into that habit. I've never met anybody who lived forever. But at the same time, I want to be in control of my own destiny, right? Because of my past, and is that I was always told what was good for me. I was never asked, like, what's good for you? What do you want to do? I want to be able to still, be at home, right? I want to be at home. I want to be with my family. But at the same time, I'm comfortable with where I'm at, who I am today, and I'm proud of my accomplishments. And then the other ones, the younger ones said, don't do that, don't quit. Because then they're like me, right? There's a lot of truth to science. There's some truth to faith and hope, you know. But hope is the son of faith, right? If you don't have faith, you're not going to have hope. And that's what my daughters always say, right? Like, you always tell me to have faith first and then hope. And then when I told them I was talking about, some of them cried, of course. And then my sisters, they said, don't. Because we just lost my brother, right? The other day I did talk to Marlene about quitting again. When that infection came, like I said, I think about it constantly. It's like feeling something, right? Feelings come and they go. Something usually takes its place to distract me. And lately, yesterday when we're talking about this coming home, Steve asked me, like, what's helping you right now? And I told him, you are. Just being normal. Listening to me bitch and complain about dialysis. I'm saying I need to vent. I need to tell you I don't like it. And then you don't say nothing, I said. You don't tell me it's all right. It's going to be all right. You said it's just part of the, like he said, just like your own words. It's part of the process. And he said, I'm gonna tell you another thing you always say. Nobody promised you an easy life. Like I always tell them, nobody says that life is easy. Nobody come along and told us you're gonna have an easy life. So, it's hard to deny the words you throw at people all the time. But I'm gonna tell you about choices, and it's getting back to, you know what? I choose to quit dialysis. I choose am I committing suicide? In a way. But at the same time, it's my way. I've always been the person to do things the way I'd like them to be done. After I started my recovery, you can't tell me what's good for me, but you can ask, and I'll gladly tell you. I was telling not only the medical caregivers, but the community caregivers. Meaning, I was at the school when I got out of the hospital, and they asked, of course, all the kids, Grandpa, Grandpa, Grandpa. And I told them, you know what, if you guys don't quit gaming and you keep eating that sugar, And you don't look after yourself if you don't exercise. And then I pulled my shirt down to show them, this is my kidney. I said, this is what helps get rid of dangerous things, dangerous stuff in my body. But of course the questions came, what happened? Like, are you going to be all right? And I was talking about dialysis. We have to start educating our youth, because the people my age in community here, from age 4 to 5, you're responsible for a child. From 5 to 10 or 15, they start being independent, right? They start wanting to do their own things. And then when they're teenagers, they have their own mind already. And then in their 20s, they're already set in their ways. So, and I was telling the principal that we have to change that mentality of exercise and looking after yourself. And I was telling him I was too busy looking after everybody, and I did not look after myself, and this is the result of it, right? They didn't know how to talk to me because they didn't know who I was. They didn't know my background. They were scared to ask me something, right? Like I said, I lived in fear, and the key in all of this is communication. They did not ask me how I felt. They didn't ask me about my past. The nurses there were really super kind on that renal unit. But I seen patients lash out at them, right? But that's them too. Those were new patients, actually. Because I know, say, it's because we don't know. Like, you want to run, fight or flight mentality when you're in fear. And that's one of the things, the concepts of this dialysis is that I didn't understand it. I didn't know it. I did not know what it entailed and how time consuming it was. And nobody told me about it. Nobody even mentioned that it's going to change my life drastically. And I would have wake up with anxiety. At least talk to people, ask them how they feel. Because there is a time where there's a lot of fear and uncertainty that come into play here. And if you don't have guidance to alleviate some of that fear or some of that uncertainty through healthy supports or through somebody who's going through it or been through it, then my wife and I have been married 38 years. It's a full-time job. Oh man, did I ever get, I took her on a wild ride. I did. And she has a strong grip